Okay, hopefully it won't get stuck now, although it might get stuck again. So this is for literary prizes and public acclaim assignment 2. We started off sort of working towards this assignment really. It was a massive, like, this is kind of what sent me into a bit of a spiral going back for second year, because when you arrive for your first like kind of session for a module, you don't really expect to be thrown in with a group project to this scale, and the organisation of it and the running of it, everything was just, it was chaotic to say the least. We had to select what kind of role we wanted, but we weren't guaranteed to get that role. There were multiple teams you could be on, so we had to run a creative writing competition for our entire university. I really wanted to be a part of like the judging panel because I'm doing the split course, I'm doing literature and I'm also doing creative writing, and I feel like where I've been a participant in creative writing competitions before, I thought, oh, this is where I can like use my knowledge and come up with some really like strong criteria to help the other teams like suggest different criteria that we could have, and suggest like maybe we have a theme so that people can have like, you know, stimulus for inspiration to write a story. I ended up not getting on the judging team, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Really annoyed me how one of the people on my course was like, oh, I chose mine last minute, and she got on the judging team, whereas I did it as soon as the thing was available. But it's like, you know, that's life. So I was a bit like, okay, little bit bitter about that, but that's fine, that's okay. And then the other team, so there was like a judging team, there was marketing team, there was communications team, which I ended up in. Oh boy, did I regret that. Although actually, to be fair, in terms of this module, I got a first for both of my assignments, and so not complaining, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of stress levels, like, why? So yeah, we had a marketing team that was bigger than us, but we also had a communication team. Where's the logic in that? I don't understand. I was like, surely those two should be combined together because it caused such a headache. Design team for all like the posters and the flyers and the other stuff, and we also had, I think, like an events team. Oh my god. So I'm a very organised person. I might not be good at multitasking, but I am a very organised person. In the communications team, we were a very small team. Two of the girls in my team, like, I'm not judging people if they have like health issues and stuff, that's not their fault. Obviously, if they had legitimate health reasons and they couldn't turn up for certain things, that is fine. But so in terms of like, you know, if people have health issues, that's fine, like totally acceptable. But two of the girls in my team never showed up. No reason, nothing. They just like disappeared off the face of the earth, and I was like, okay. And the other people on my team were pretty much useless, so it was kind of all left to me. It's just they didn't use their brains. They weren't proactive, and I tried to delegate stuff to them. One of them, to be fair, kind of did help me, but the other one was just like, I could have just been in a team by myself and have achieved just as much. I was the one to email all the different, like, I was the one to do a lot of the email communications for, like, different departments to try and, like, drum up support, all that sort of different stuff. And communications was basically responsible for trying to make sure all the teams kept on track and, like, basically tracking everything. And so the first thing that I tried to implement as soon as I got this role was like, right, we need a place where we can all communicate. So I created a forum with multiple posts, and in my reflection, because basically for this assignment we ended up having to do, not only put on this event, but we had to write a reflective commentary about it, the most boring assignment I've ever had to do in my life. We had to, like, you know, write about it and reflect it. And I did critique myself. And looking back, yes, maybe I did have too many posts on that forum. But I was trying to give each team their own designated section so they could, like, have a brainstorm area so we could all keep track of what different teams were thinking and, like, having different areas. And we also had to come up with, like, frequently asked questions. But obviously, because we also had a marketing team, they were trying to do stuff on social media. And it was, like, there was, like, this kind of, not tension, but there was, like, it was trying to track both of us at the same time, and it was a bit like, well, are you using the social media platforms or are we? Because apparently we had to create the frequently asked questions, and it was all over the place, really. It was very stressful. There was a lot of frankly bitchiness amongst teams, like being like, oh, I remember one seminar, I just like didn't lose it, but I just kind of said very loudly, like, well, it would help if the teams would actually communicate, because you'd go up to them and try and communicate and people were useless, no one knew what was going on, and we all floundered basically. Somehow the event got pulled off. I didn't even go to the event because by that point I was so wound up. I was like, I'm not even going to go to this. I don't care how it turns out. I'm going to write my commentary, and because this was like a whole long thing until Christmas. Luckily, this teaching block was in teaching block 1, so literally all this stress led up to Christmas, and I was like, I just want to get this assignment done and move on. And that was another thing, like the module itself, obviously it was a core module, so we didn't get a choice, we had to do it. The concept of it was brilliant. We looked at like why literature is assigned prizes, and we had discussions about like, you know, what makes good literature, who decides that, and all those kinds of interesting debates surrounding literature. I cannot comprehend why they have a practical element to this module. Personally, for me, I don't think it was beneficial, given the such tight time frame that we had. I don't believe it's conducive to running an event in the space of a couple of months, especially when you have unreliable peers around you who just do nothing. It's very stressful. And it wasn't a great experience. It was just very demoralising, and it reminded me again, there seems to be a trend for some people, of students who think, oh, literature's easy, anyone can do literature, I don't know what I want to do, I'm just going to pick literature because I'm going to pick literature, and it's like, and then they complain, and then they hate it, and it's like, why are you studying a subject? Why are you studying a subject if you don't have a passion for it, or you have zero interest in it? And then you just sit there and like expect things to just happen for you, and it's like, no, it's not. So yeah, so it's not even like I could have avoided this module. It was a core module, I had to do it, and the actual essence of it was great. But then when it got to the actual other assignments, apart from a few odd questions, hardly any of the questions linked with the prize element, so it was very disjointed. I loved the essay I ended up writing because I got to negotiate my question, but the overall experience of that module, it just for in terms of like mental health, it just kind of like made me plummet a bit. Not plummet as in terrible, but in terms of positivity, I started the year with such optimism, like, yeah, this is going to be a good year, and then it instantly just went like, you have, like, oh, we're putting on this writing event, and we have to do this, and this, and this, and this, and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? We've just come back from, like, a long break, and now you're like, we're putting on, within a couple of weeks, we are putting on a writing competition. Okay. It was just, oh, good luck, guys, if you end up with a group project at uni, and hopefully you don't have negative experiences, but just be prepared. Be prepared to be that person to be on top of stuff, because someone has to be, and I'm not trying to big myself up at all, but sometimes you need to take control, and I admit I did take control because nothing else was happening. I was like we had like WhatsApp groups to try and like communicate with people, and it was just like, if no one's going to respond to me, I'm just going to do it myself then, because no one else can be bothered. Oh, it was just, because they were just too relaxed, and I was like, no. Anyway, I was so happy that I was just like, my one saving grace was the fact that, well, at least it's teaching block 1, so once I've got teaching block 1 out of the way, I never have to do this module again. So anyway, so they don't lie when they say second year is stressful. It is. It is. I was like, oh no, you're a bit more clued up, you know what you're doing. No, second year is full of surprises. Anyway, if anyone's watched this, thank you. And if you have any questions regarding an English and creative writing degree, feel free to comment them below. I'll be happy to get back to you and offer any little bits of advice. Bye.